We don't know if this is working yet. Hold on.
Oh,
I think we're working. This is our first attempt. Oh, yep. So, hello, everybody. Greetings, fellow exiles, and welcome to our first live stream. Okay, it's going to take us a little bit to get used to that delay. That sucks. But if you have any questions as we're going through this stuff, just let us know. And let me minimize this screen so I can see a little bit better what we're doing here. Okay. I know you couldn't see that, but anyway, we're starting our live stream, Sarah and I, so we can better help you guys and better explore stuff and answer any questions that anybody might have. And what does that say? Virginia. Yeah, Virginia says hi back.
that's my aunt that made the logo.
Oh, that's her aunt. You're supposed to say hi when people say hi
I
in the
didn't
live
notice it
stream.
until you said
Okay.
she said that.
So we're not experts, but we're learning on. So we're trying to help you guys and share what we've learned. So, Sarah, what have you been up to this week?
So this last weekend we went winter camping with Thomas's scout troop. That was Thomas's first time cold weather camping, and there were some lessons learned for that. And it was my second time cold weather camping, and I don't know how many times John's been cold weather camping.
I don't know either.
But hello, Ramir. Hope I said that right. And we, like I said, some lessons were learned. First of all, it's more important to change your socks before you go to bed from the socks you've been wearing in your sweaty winter boots all day, so that your feet are nice and dry and you don't get cold. Thomas learned that. He didn't want to change his socks. I said, well, if your feet get cold, you know what to do. And he did not want to change his socks, but had cold feet. So, the Klondike, which is what we went to for scouting, is a bunch of scouting groups in the area get together and kind of compete with different events. And like they did log cutting, and they had to get scouts going on a piece of plywood across rolling 50-gallon barrels across a field one way and then back the other way.
So like two scouts sat on top of the plywood with boards to push them forward like they were rowing, and the other scouts had to grab the barrel from behind and run around and put it in front before they slid off. If they fell off, then you'd have to start all over again.
Yep. And then one of the other events is they had a ball that was in a rope circle with 4 ropes coming off of that rope circle, and they had to work in tandem to pick the ball up and carry it a distance and get it in a 5-gallon bucket.
It's a good teamwork building.
Yeah.
Competition.
And then they also had a rope bridge that they had to cross, and were timed on that as well. And they do it very interestingly. They prorate the time it took them for the event versus how many people there are in the troop. So some of the troops are quite large, and our troop is like, I think got like 7-8 kids in it.
Yeah.
So it's very small compared to some of the other troops. So they do the math of kids versus time and make it more equal.
And hi, Vicky.
So it was a lot of fun. The kids had a lot of fun. Us adults didn't compete, but we had a lot of fun watching the kids and kind of talking them through some of the more difficult parts. Some of them were a little nervous about some of the events. So
the one thing I wish they would have done, they used to do this when I was in Scouts with the Klondike, is you'd always have, especially all the camporees, but especially the Klondikes, some sort of like fire building competition and knot tying. I wish they would have done more of the Scout skill-based competition. So lets the scouts with more experience show off, like, look at all these cool scout things I've learned. And it gives the younger, less experienced scouts a chance to learn all those kind of skills. It shows them some of the reasons and stuff, incentivizes them to help learn those skills.
And they wound up the day with They Told Tall Tales. And I had skits at the end that the troops could participate in or make up their own, however they wanted. So.
All right, and this week I've been primarily working on our bioreactor. It's a Johnson Sioux-ish bioreactor. I'm making a video, so once it's done, I'll edit the video and upload it. But basically, it's a big composter, and instead of having to turn the compost every so many days to mix air into it, it's built in such a way that there's air within 1 foot of any part of it. So even though it's a pile, it has like air vents in it, so that way you don't have to turn it and it's less work. So we're going to build at least 2 of them, and this one we're hoping I probably won't be done by spring, but maybe spring next year, 2024, we can use it as it is. It's standing up with the cage around it, and plant potatoes in there so the potatoes don't take up any space. And then we can just undo the fence off the outside of it, pick up all the potatoes, and shovel all the compost into the wheelbarrow and put it on the garden. That way it minimizes the amount of work we have to do to grow potatoes and to compost.
So it's a chicken wire circle,
yeah,
right? And then we put fabric on the inside of the circle, landscaping fabric, and then in the center, like a donut, is another chicken wire circle with fabric around it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it keeps the vegetable matter and mulch and stuff like that, kitchen scraps, from falling out. But it's like a giant composting donut.
Yeah. And thank you for the 3 people that are actually watching this. We weren't sure anybody would show up, so we're happy we got 3 people. Okay, and so our next segment's going to be talking about the books we've been reading. I've been reading Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and I listen to primarily most of the reading I do is audiobooks because I retain it better that way, and I've been listening to them while I'm at work. And I have a bunch of different types of books I listen to. So like classics, entertainment books, like religious books, economic books, business books. And I go through the rotation of those different types of books so I can get a larger variety of books to make me a better, more rounded person. And reading a variety of books like that also is more entertaining, because one of my books I have is just entertainment. I just finished the second in the new Thrawn trilogy. It's a Star Wars book for those who don't know who Thrawn is. And, it makes it so if you're in any sort of situation, having read more books and a larger variety of books gives you better ideas. So if you've read the Grapes of Wrath, which I haven't done, or the Little House on the Prairie books, which I again haven't done. But if you've read those kind of books and we're in a Great Depression or anything like that, you have a better idea how people used to live in those kind of situations.
And I'm reading the first Jack Reacher book. I borrowed it from my mom. It's The Killing Floor by Lee Child. I haven't made it too far into it yet. I haven't had it for a very long time. Yes, hold it up so everybody can see, instead of me just holding it in my lap. I haven't had it for a long time. I'm really enjoying it. I don't have as much time as I'd like to sit down and read. I don't do audiobooks for the most part. That's not the way I retain information. Mostly I retain information from reading it or writing it down. It just goes, everybody learns differently. So. And
also, we're going through the Bible with a group of people, some friends, family, a couple people from church. I invited a whole everybody that's in the YouVersion Bible app, everybody that I'm friends with in there, I just invited them. And we're going through the Bible chronologically. It's the beginning of January, or towards the end of January. So we're still in Genesis, because that's the Bible works chronologically.
Yep.
All right. So we want to talk to you a little bit about something that's going on in the news. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but Greta Thunberg, I think that's how you say her last name.
Close enough.
She was arrested at a protest in Germany at a coal mine. Or she was protesting Germany increasing their coal mining. Now, I'm not going to talk about whether or not the protest was a legitimate protest. And a lot of people are thinking that the arrest was staged. I don't know. I don't care. None of that matters. I don't really care about what she says either. She's just a mouthpiece. She really doesn't seem to know a lot. She just yells and screams and blames old people for all of her problems. What I care about mostly is why are the Germans having to mine more coal? Is it because they hate the environment? No. What actually happened is they were mostly in Europe, it's very popular to use electric heat and not natural gas or propane. So they were running their power plants. They had a lot of nuclear and a lot of natural gas power plants, and they still have these old coal ones laying around. Well, they shut down a lot of the nuclear ones, and when they put in all their windmills and solar panels, well, they don't get good wind, steady amount of wind, and they don't get a lot of sunlight in Germany. So they were most relying on Russian natural gas to run their generators, to generate electricity, so people could heat their house with electric heat. And I just heard one of the jars in the canner ping.
I heard it too.
But so when they part of the Ukrainian invasion and Europeans deciding they're going to shut off the natural gas coming out of Russia to try to hurt them, well, that means now that the people in Germany, they don't have any electricity to heat with. So they're cutting down trees, they're burning coal, they're also burning coal to generate electricity to heat their houses. So they're going backwards on the green energy thing.
Because when they turned off the nuclear reactors, you can't just, flip a switch and start them back up again. It's a whole process. It takes a lot of time to start them back up again. And it's time that they don't have the winter being here.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is because you never know what the politicians and those kind of people are doing. So you should be working on having a backup form of heat and a way to heat your house and stuff like that in the winter. And be prepared for who knows what disasters can come, because they're deforesting the trees at a rate in Germany that's never been recorded before, because people are freezing and I got this old fireplace in my house. I guess I'll cut down a tree and burn some stuff so me and my children will stay alive.
People will do amazing and drastic things when it comes to their kids. If your kids are hungry, you're going to do drastic and amazing things for that. If your kids are freezing to death, same thing. You're going to do drastic and possibly terrible things to make sure that they stay warm and are fed.
And I'm not necessarily worried about it. I'm just letting everybody know that if this is going on in Germany, which is a first world country, stuff like that could easily happen here. So we should just be aware of it so we can come up with plans and backup plans. All right, now let's go on to something a little bit more positive. What we've been growing. And it's snowing today, so we haven't been growing anything outdoors because it's snowing. I was just listening to the Living Free in Tennessee podcast, and she's talking about getting ready to go outside and plant seeds soon.
Yes, I'm very jealous of all the people that I see on Facebook and some of the other social media platforms I'm on saying, we're going outside and planting. I'm like, that's not happening for a couple more months up here, at least.
Yep. So our next big plan for gardening and growing our own food is to, we got one debt we're going to pay off in the next couple of weeks. Once that one's paid off, we're going to go to the an old metal shed that Sarah already had when we got married and I moved in. We're going to turn that into a chicken coop, and we're going to put a run between it and the other shed. so the chickens can stay in the chicken coop. They can go out in the run, and it'll protect them from predators. It'll be an electro net designed for chickens. And then we're going to put 90 degrees off the chicken coop, another set of electro net, and that's where we're going to garden. And we can grow the food in there, and it'll protect it from rabbits and groundhogs. We got a ton of rabbits and groundhogs.
You would not believe how many rabbits and groundhogs we have out here.
If we just start trapping rabbits, as long as the neighbors aren't all doing it, we're not going to starve to death. There's like a bazillion of them, and they reproduce like rabbits.
Imagine that.
So that's the old school victory garden thing they would use in World War II. So something else I just bought the stuff the other day to start doing, because we were asked about growing indoors. Let me grab some of the parts here. Is a system called Kratky Aquaponics, hydroponics. So you just take a regular mason jar, wide mouth. This is
Grow net.
I'm going to see a 3-inch, maybe a 4-inch grow net. It's whatever fits inside of a mason jar. That's what size it is. You take the grow solution, the hydroponic solution. This one is the grow formula. Any of the grow formula ones. Which way do I need to go?
There you go.
Any of the grow formula ones. This one's a 612. That's nitrogen, potassium.
216.
216 is what it is. Nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. I think that's the order the numbers are in. But anyway, you mix up a little bit of that into the water. You put it in here. But before you do that, you want to start your seed. You can buy all this stuff off of Amazon. I just went up to the place because we live near Michigan. I just drove up to the place where the guys that grow weed buy their stuff. So this thing, I bought this whole mat. There's a price tag on here somewhere, or at least there was.
Right here.
Oh. So $14 for this whole thing. These are like 40 cents, these net cups. And the grow solution, I was like
$14.
14 bucks-ish. So you just take one of these cubes. You put it in a bowl or on a plate so it stays wet. And there's a little hole in the top. And you just put like a couple lettuce seeds in there. Then once the lettuce seeds start to grow in here, you fill the net cup full of those expanded clay pellets. I wish we had some handy. But those go in there, and then you put this in there.
They're little light terracotta colored pellets that are about the size of a small marble, but they don't weigh anything.
They're mostly air.
Yeah.
And what that does is it soaks up the water and the grow solution and provides it for the plant. And then as the plant grows its roots out, if a plant grows its roots into water, it won't get enough air to the roots and it'll die. So what you would normally do in an aquaponics system is you flood the system and then you let all the water drain out, then you flood it again, and that requires hydroponics. Same aquaponics, hydroponics, it doesn't matter. Most of the time you flood and drain. With the Kratky system, it was designed to use without any electricity or hardware pumps, any pumps or any hardware like that in third world countries. So as the water level gets used by the plant and evaporates out of here, it'll drop and allow the roots to have more and more air. And it'll actually grow two different types of roots. It'll grow roots that like the water, and it'll grow roots that like to be more in air. I've never done it before, but I've watched a bunch of videos and podcasts, and this is going to be, I think, a great way to grow a little bit of food and a little bit of nutrients. Yes, aquaponics involves fish. I've experimented with a little bit with aquaponics in the past. But this little system will provide us with a little bit of fresh herbs and a little bit of lettuce. We're going to put some custom shelves in front of the window in the kitchen to grow stuff on. And Thomas wants
a guinea pig.
A guinea pig. Some sort of rat. And we're going to put a shelf or two in his window so he can grow some food for his fluffy rat.
His edible rodent.
Yeah. something we've done in the past, and we're going to experiment more in the future. Let me grab this without getting too wet. We had this guy outside, so it filled full of water and froze. But these are ice trays.
Oh,
So
yeah, ice cube trays
So
from Walmart.
yeah, so you take the ice cubes and pour them in here and keep this in your freezer from Walmart. Well, this just happens to, I think it's on this lip right here, or is it on this?
I don't remember.
One of these two lips just happens to fit perfectly inside of an aquarium, and it has those expanded clay pebbles in the bottom and holes drilled into it, so it can soak the water up into the potting soil in the top. Now, we experimented with this before, and the problem is the plants didn't get enough light. So we're going to build a stand, a nice pretty stand, to hide some grow lights above it, because you don't want the grow lights growing in your eyes or shining in your eyes, because it's really bad for them. And we're also going to set a timer so they only run when everybody's asleep, so we won't have to deal with it. If the light from grow lights, because I've had some grow lights in another room next to the bedroom before, and just the light coming in underneath the door kept me from being able to sleep very well. So we want to run them in the living room. Well,
when everybody's awake.
Yep. No,
Asleep.
when everybody's asleep, so nobody
Okay.
will look at it. But we're going to have them covered so the light won't shine directly. It'll shine down onto the plants, so it won't leak underneath everybody's doors and keep everybody awake. So we're planning on, in the near future, doing some more experimenting with that to grow some moderate amount of stuff in there. You want to talk to him about the air stuff first?
The air stuff.
The air quality from growing plants.
Oh, and growing stuff in, like, if Thomas wants the guinea pig, he can grow lettuce in his room for the guinea pig, and that will help, growing stuff in the house will also help use up some of the yuckiness that just happens from living in your house for the plants, and hopefully, help with teenage boy rooms.
Just dropped one of our props. So this is a little net thing we bought. You can just take a screen and put it over a mason jar. But this goes on top of a mason jar, and you put your seeds in here. You fill them up, soak them, turn it over, and it's for growing sprouts. We had pretty good luck with pea sprouts in it. Basically, after we soaked them for 24 hours, we'd rinse them twice a day, and I'd swirl it around and shake it to get as much water out as I could, because in the past we've had mold problems.
Yeah. One thing growing sprouts we did have luck with was chia seeds. I sprouted some chia seeds on terracotta. I just did a little terracotta plate that I had from my flower pot. And it worked really, really well. And they cleaned up off of the terracotta plate rather nicely. So, it was as far as I'm concerned, it was a success. And I would do it again. And that just helps add sprouts and things like that. Just help add some dense nutrients to our food to make sure that we're getting the maximum amount of nutrients when we eat, for healthy eating purposes.
We store a lot of beans and rice and noodles and stuff like that, which is good calories, but there's not a lot of nutrition in there. So canning and growing indoors is going to add some flavor and some nutrition to those stored foods, and flavor and nutrition to our everyday diet. Now, I have on the channel another sprouting experiment I tried, and I bought these cups to try it again. The last time I just used like Dixie cup or Solo cups, and had a few problems, but I learned from it, so we're gonna do this one. So basically, you'll soak the seeds in this one, and then dump them in here, and there'll be holes, and it'll drain through. And then every day, or every couple of days, you'll start a new batch. And the older batch will be growing in a lower container. That way you have a perpetual growing system that's continuously making new sprouts for you every 3 days. Because the problem with this one is you can only do one batch at a time. If you want to have like 5 batches going with these, you need 5 different jars. It's a modification of the fodder system people use for growing fodder for their livestock, mostly birds, chickens, and ducks.
They also ferment the livestock or the feed.
Yeah, similar. Yeah,
livestock or the chickens with that. I've seen a lot of people do that.
And then the last project we're going to be working on, probably be a couple months before we work on it, because I have to crawl down to the basement and run new electrical lines, is we're going to take the closet that's just there outside our bedroom door. It's by the front door. It's designed as a coat closet, but we don't really use it like that. Right now we got canned goods stored in it that we're gonna move around later. But anyway, what we're gonna do is put a hydroponics system in there. If you want to look up later, don't do it while you're watching this live stream. But if you want to look up on YouTube on Jack Spirko's channel, he has a indoor mini farm playlist. We're doing a system like that. So
much smaller.
Yeah, so it'll grow a lot of our indoor or a lot of our herbs and lettuces and stuff like that. So we don't have to go to the grocery store. Lettuce per pound is more expensive than steak. So we want to try to grow all that stuff indoors. And a lot of people worry because this stuff and all the other gross stuff, you have to dispose of it every so often, the water that's mixed with this stuff. And normally it's not the best for the environment. You don't want to dump it down in the sewage. You don't want to dump it in one spot continuously in your yard because it's so much fertilizer it'll start to cause issues of over-fertilizing. But we can dump the excess of this when we do water changes into the bioreactor, and all the mulch and the activated carbon or biochar we plan on putting in there, all that will absorb the excess nutrients from this and actually take a waste stream and turn it into something productive for us. Alright, so food storage. So I just said we're going to make room in the closet for the stuff. So we're in the process of moving stuff around the house and moving some shelves and stuff like that, and cleaning off some shelves so we can have a more organized system for our cans, like jars of stuff we've canned.
We're planning on increasing our vertical storage.
Yeah, we're going to make use of a shelf over here, a shelf on each side of the bed for books and stuff like that. We have a shelf in the living room we have to move out because we're going to put our backup heater in there, because our furnace requires electrical power. So if we have an electrical, or if the power goes out, we can't run the furnace. We're going to have a ventless heater. Ventless natural gas heater that we can use as a backup.
And we can also store, we're also working, this is more long-term, because we have to find a lot of places for stuff that currently is under the bed and under the bed boxes to go elsewhere in the house. It's a 900 square foot house. Space is at a premium. But we're also going to store some of the food and canned goods under the bed eventually.
Yep. The plan is to have a first in, first out rotation system and also know where stuff's at. And the stuff we use the most often is going to be closest to the stove and in the kitchen area. Stuff that's out here is... So, like, if we run out of cans of tomato soup... No, that's a bad example.
Red sauce.
We run out of cans of red sauce in the kitchen storage area. Before we go and buy more red sauce, or even if it's green beans we bought from the store, before we go buy more green beans or make more red sauce, we can come get what's out of the bedroom and move it into the kitchen, then replace what's in here. That way, we're rotating and you don't have to walk as far from the kitchen. Because when you're cooking, you don't want to walk. You want to be able to just do it as little as possible, little movement as possible. All right. So what do you like about our electric canner?
Yeah, so we have 2 Nesco electric canners. He had one that he got before we got married, and I had one, and we really enjoy the electric canners. We tend to can frequently in small batches, so they're
Stuff like we'll cook enough for like, uh, uh, instead of cooking just for the four of us, we'll cook enough for like 8 people and then can the leftovers.
right. And the canner holds 4 quarts or 5 pints. I think it's 6 half pints, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that. And we just like tonight. I got some chicken on sale. So I actually John cut up a bunch of chicken breasts that I bought on sale, and I canned them. There will be a video up of canning chicken, raw packing canning chicken.
That's the what I mentioned earlier when said I heard one of the jars ping. That's what it was, and that's really awesome with the electric canners. Is the old-fashioned canners you had to watch and babysit. These canners we could set up and get started, and we can come in here and start the live stream. I've canned stuff at home, like I can can something while she's at home, and I can leave and go to work, and all she's got to do is make sure, or just be in the house with it, and she doesn't have to do anything. Yeah. I've even, before we got married, I would use it at work. I'd cook a bunch of stuff right before work, eat it on my lunch break, throw it in jars, and can it while I was running my machine, and then by my second break, I could pull the jars out.
Yeah.
Because it didn't require any babysitting. It could run in the break room at work while I was running my machine.
The computer controls the pressurizing, how long it runs, and then the depressurizing. So you don't have to wait 10 minutes for a steady stream of steam to come out the safety valve, and then put the petcock, and then put the jiggler on it. You don't have to wait and make sure that the jiggler keeps jiggling. And everything. Yep. You can just set it, forget it, and walk away from it.
And we have a whole video playlist we're working on called the Prepper Kitchen. It's because we noticed there's a lot of videos on like how to can and how to store food in buckets and stuff like that, but there's not a lot of videos out on YouTube about how to use stored food to make delicious food. So we're doing that. Mostly Sarah's doing that as a video series, so she's showing you not only how to can, but how to use those canned foods and use those other ingredients and a few little fresh ingredients, stuff like what we will be growing, or stuff you can buy at the grocery store cheap to supplement it. That way, if there is, like, you lose your job and you need to live off of your stored rice and beans, you can make those rice and beans taste good instead of just eating generic rice and beans. You can throw some like canned tomatoes, some canned chicken, and some dehydrated peppers and some dehydrated onions in there, and make an actual meal that doesn't taste like gruel.
Gruel. That sounds so appetizing.
Like Oliver Twist. Please, sir, can I have some more?
Words we'll never hear Thomas say.
No. All right. So, we're going to move on to the Bible study portion of the live stream. So what we're we started this live stream, and we start every video with saying like good evening or welcome, fellow exiles. And the reason we call ourselves exiles, and the reason we call you guys exiles in this case, is because and we're supposed to be, every Christian's heard the words, in the world but not of it, but it's basically just a platitude people say. But what it's supposed to mean is like we live on earth, but we're actually we're part of God's kingdom. The kingdom we live in, like the country we live in the United States or wherever you just happen to be, is our secondary. We're still supposed to be loyal to that, but we're supposed to be, our primary loyalty is to God's kingdom. So, the reason I call us exiles is because in actually a good portion of the Old Testament, the prophets were warning the Israelites of all the bad stuff they were doing. Well, then the Babylonians, because they wouldn't change their ways, the Babylonians came in and conquered Israel, well, actually Judea, and hauled off them, most of the Judeans, into exile. And Jeremiah wrote them a letter. I recommend Googling. I don't remember what verses it is, but Googling Jeremiah's letter to the exile and read it. Sarah's going to look it up, I guess. I'm not going to read it to you now because it's kind of long. But basically it says that even though you're in exile, you're supposed to be working towards making the world around you a better place so that you can show God's love to people, and so you can, when they get back to Israel, they can have a stronger kingdom, or like when we get back, or when we finally go to heaven, there'll be more Christian, more people in heaven because we've helped people become Christians. And
it's Jeremiah 29 verses 1 through 23.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You should, like I said, you should read it. So that's why I call us all exiles, because it says in there that you should have children and teach your children how to be how to follow God, and teach your children right from wrong, and get a job and work hard, and grow a garden and be prosperous, so that you show people, not only you show people God's love and you show people what Christians working hard can do, but you can also have that ability to help people. Because on more than one occasion, I've used like the stored food I had. So when me and my late wife were still together before she passed away, we didn't have a lot of money, but we'd slowly buy food when it was on sale and stuff like that to store extra food. And there's been a couple of times where we've known people that, for whatever reason, couldn't get food stamps or unemployment or something like that, and they needed food. We were able to pack up enough food for a couple of weeks for them and give to them. So that's why part of the reason why we teach food storage and stuff like that is not just so we can eat it, but so we can help give it out and stuff to people who need it.
Okay.
That's awesome that I like 1 Samuel. Okay. People all the time like, oh, my favorite book of the Bible is this. My favorite book. Almost a lot of times I'm like, oh, that's my favorite book of the Bible. They're almost all I say that about. The only one I really don't say that about is the Song of Songs or the Song of Solomon, depending on what. Because it's a love letter between a brother and sister who are also married. I know there's theological reasons we're supposed to get out of it, but it's really hard to get past the ick factor. I know back then it wasn't that big a deal for royalty and stuff, but it's weird.
Yeah, there's an icky factor.
Yep.
It's just
so
really
next week we're going to be doing we're going to be talking about the tagline that we use for every video and discussing what it means. It's from the book of Nehemiah. I did a video about Nehemiah and a video about my tagline. And the video about Nehemiah, though, about half the time I call him Jeremiah.
If you listen closely, you can hear me behind him going, Nehemiah,
yeah,
not Jeremiah.
She's on behind the curtain. It's Nehemiah. I didn't hear her. But I'd like to thank 3 people who joined us. We got
7 people watching.
Oh, we got 7 people watching. Wow, well, we didn't think we'd get any. We got 7 people watching. I'd like to thank everybody for watching and tuning in. You can put questions in the comments later. We'll read them all. And then we're going to break this up into a handful of videos and release them throughout the week. You can ask questions there. We're looking for more questions about how to grow food and produce food storage stuff, and Bible study questions. And like we said, we're not experts, but we'll do our best to answer them and look for answers.
On some of these things, we're learning just as much as you are on the go with this. So
yeah. Most of my videos are me figuring out what we're doing as we're doing it. My last video, that's all it was about, is like I was waterproofing Thomas's bag for his fire kit for Scouts, but it's mostly me figuring out how to do something I've never done before.
Oh, that's good to know. I'll have to message him on Facebook.
Oh, that's cool. So apparently Sarah's cousin Josh is big into aquaponics and hydroponics. That's good. We might be able to learn some stuff from him. So that's all we got for this week. We'll be doing this again next week at 7 o'clock. Join us. Invite your friends.
We're going to aim for every Friday at 7.
That's our plan. If we're doing a scout camp out, we'll have to figure something out, but we'll cross that when we get there.
If we're doing a scout camp out, it may be like shortened or early or bumped a week.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But thank you for joining us, and we, his people, will start rebuilding. All right, now how do I stop this?
I would assume end stream.
End stream, yeah. End.